Welcome back to the Moisture Farm, everybody. It's been a minute since I've posted, and a lot has happened since then. Obviously, we've had our three major suspensions with Django, DJ, and Triple Dark Raid. It's really shaken up the meta. There's a lot of testing going on right now. And over the past couple weeks, I have been doing a lot of testing with different decks, trying to figure out how I want to approach this meta. And I have failed to include you all in that journey. And for that, I apologize. And we'll begin to try to make it up a little bit with this Luke deck that I've got today. As you can see by the title of the deck, it's heavily inspired by the Luke Showcase winner from the Milan sector. I messed with it a little bit, and but it's very, very, very much inspired by that deck. Going through the cards, Alliance Dispatcher is one of the more important cards in here, especially in those mid-range matchups. It just puts a lot of pressure on mid-range decks to deal with it, because otherwise you're either playing above curve or you're playing your curve out normally and being able to have that extra resource up to shield it, which just feels, like immediately after, like turn 2 after playing Alliance Dispatcher, either playing one of your 3 drops and shielding it, or reaching all the way to 4 and getting out a Bright Hope or a Quinlan, just feels very strong, very good. Very good card for this deck. A couple Heras in there. Having Hera and Quinlan, that Spectre synergy, when Quinlan actually is able to pull it off, feels really good, being able to do it twice. I like having both of them in there. Got our clutch 2-drop space units. Blue Leader feels really good in this deck, especially if you can pull it out with Alliance Dispatcher, where you can get that 5/5 ambush on the ground for 4 resources. Feels really good. Conquer Dawn is pretty important. Just another Sentinel that you can shield. The 3-drop section of this deck is just super important, with Conquer Dawn, Echo Base, Village Protectors. Obviously, those 3-drop Sentinels put in a lot of work with Luke, especially when you're able to shield them. And if you can shield them on curve with Alliance Dispatchers, obviously very, very strong curve. Yoda along to help with some card draw feels great against other blue decks when they remove it with cards. Just 2 resupplies in here. I don't always feel like it's imperative to ramp. You're obviously not trying to ramp against aggro. And even against mid-range, you're not necessarily trying to ramp. It feels like kind of one of those disruption type plays where your opponent's not fully expecting you to be ramping. But maybe on a 5 resource turn, you play a 2-drop and then resupply, and now you're suddenly deploying Luke, which can throw your opponent off. Bright Hope and Quinlan's got great stats, great ability, especially as I mentioned with Hera out there. Some classic blue removal, some Fell, Takedown, Rivals Fall, just that kind of classic blue removal package is kind of a staple for the color. 2 Chewbacca, and then sideboard 1 for sure. Chewbacca puts in a lot of work. Can either put in a ton of pressure if you need to tempo against hard control. Playing him for 5 even feels really good. Putting a shield on him feels even better. Now it can't be bounced, can't be defeated, and making it hard to throw damage onto it makes it, it forces you to have a very specific removal like Luke Skywalker on the other side of the table, which isn't always, not going to be super, super common. Obi-Wan Kenobi, still have a couple in there. I know a lot of people are not very high on the Obi-Wan unit Sentinel right now because, just having it bounced completely sucks. It feels terrible. But I still think it belongs in here. I don't feel the need to take it out. 3 Lukes, classic. 2 Ewing with 1 in the side. You could fully argue for 3 Ewing, just kind of depends on what your play style is. But super, and you've got really good early units. U-wing into Chewbacca, U-wing into Luke always feels really good. One home one, I would main deck 2 if I had one. I only have one at the moment. If I had another home one, I would main 2 of that, and then Redemption is the one that's behind my head. And I main deck 2 of that because I have them. But if I had another home one, I would flip flop it. But that's the deck overall. Got some gameplay footage for you, so I'll go into it, break it down a little bit, and show you how I at least have approached it against some competitive decks. So first matchup I've got for you is against a Quinlan. He's going to start with laying down the old L3, and I'll get my Alliance Dispatcher in here, and we'll go ahead and shield it up. So against Quinlan, like I'm definitely game planning for stabilization more than I am, early on board control, or trying to apply a lot of pressure early on. Quinlan definitely has the best mid-game stabilization in the game with him deploying a Plo Koon ambush, force throws. Obviously Tarkin Town usually helps him out with kind of getting to that point. So I'm already expecting, like, in the middle of the game, his board is going to be pretty heavy. And you're game planning for stabilization, in my opinion, which, if you can pull it off, probably in good shape. So he's going to get 2 in here. I've got a couple of choices here about whether or not, I want to, either, I think I've got a restored arc in there. I could kind of lane dodge a little bit, but I'll go ahead and take advantage of my Alliance Dispatcher and bring out Yoda, and I get to protect Yoda. He's going to elect not to Tarkin Town it, obviously, because it's got a shield on it now. So, both of us having 2 units on the board, me being able to maintain my shields is really important. So, Alliance Dispatcher at this point, like, it's going to be hard for him to deal with. He has to spend an action to break that shield somehow. He's going to play Ahsoka first action to make me discard. I'll chuck the restored ARC, and he's going to have to choose which one he wants me to exhaust. Obviously, exhausting the Alliance Dispatcher feels, as a unit itself, feels weird, but when you consider, what I could be possibly doing on this turn, not the worst move to tap that down. So now I've got a shielded Yoda. Go ahead and throw out the Village Protectors right away to sort of prevent any big tempo swings from Ezra and L3 swinging into base. And we're on resource 4, so, even if he pops this shield, which he does, I'm going to go right ahead and reapply it. And now I've definitely kind of jammed up a little bit. That Luke ability and being able to throw around those shields is just so nice. feels really good against ping decks for sure. He's going to bamboozle Yoda, pop the shield, discarding a Plo Koon, which is a surprising move from, in my opinion, considering his board state and how powerful that card really is. Pop a shield with Ezra so that I won't be able to reapply the shield, at least with Luke's ability. So he knows he's got a chance to free it up this next phase. As you can see a little bit in my hand, I've got a couple Echo-based defenders. Went ahead and resourced that Redemption, trying to focus on keeping those Sentinels in hand to kind of jam up the mid-game as much as possible. Got a Kanan in my hand as well, and it looks like a Battlefield Marine is the other card. So I don't have any like real stabilization answers. That Redemption, I guess, that's a late game stabilization, but I go ahead and trade my Sentinel for Ezra just because that swing, knowing he's probably going to trade L3 or even just to swing Ahsoka into the Sentinel, an Ezra swing just as a tempo play is not something I'm very interested in seeing. So we want to go ahead and take care of that. The tricky part about the Echo Base defenders, and this is where I understand the criticism, is he's got 2 units that he can swing and take out the Echo Base. He's also got 2 force units on board, so force throw is very much on the table here. So my Sentinels are very vulnerable at the moment. I'm very aware of the vulnerability of playing those Echo Base defenders right now with the given board state. Tough choice for me. I know I'm on 5 resources, so I don't even have to activate Alliance Dispatcher if I want to get Kanan down with a shield. Go ahead and use the Alliance Dispatcher to put down a Battlefield Marine for 1. This kind of slow rolling my hand here. That leaves me enough resources to play an Echo Base and shield it. If he wants to, swing in, get damage in on base, I can kind of go in behind him with those Sentinels to jam up the next phase. But obviously he's still got all of his resources up, hasn't swung in with any of those units. So I'm definitely aware of all of this. He's going to ambush the speeder using Quinlan's ability first to pop the shield. So once again, keeps his resource. I know I got Ahsoka cut off down there, but using his resources to, keep his units up. Go ahead and use Luke's ability to shield the Battlefield Marine instead. And once again, just trying to gum up his plays here. Now we bring in the Echo Base defender. He'll play the disabling Fang Fighter, which pops a shield and throws a damage onto Echo Base. Very nice play for him. It allows him to trade the L3 in and keep Ahsoka unscathed. So once again, as I was expecting, he's got very dominant board control on the Quinlan deploy. The mid game is his for sure, as I was expecting. Now I'm on my Luke deploy phase, which can help depending on what's in my hand. You see I've got Village Protectors. I've got another Echo Base. Go ahead and take out the speeder just because I can make that trade. Ahsoka's going to go in for base. Now that one of his ground units has attacked, go ahead and drop in one of those Sentinels. We'll do the village, or the Echo Base defender. Quinlan will take that out immediately. And now we drop in the Village Protectors. Fang Fighter is going to come in. And now I can deploy Luke. Taking out Quinlan and applying a second shield to Village Protectors. And now I start to feel like he might have had some dead draws there because definitely a phase where I took back the momentum. Double shielded Village Protectors. I mean, he is playing yellow. He has access to bounce. He certainly, Bamboozles can get those shields out of there for sure. We saw him use one already. He's got answers. He's going to go ahead and pop one of those shields with Ahsoka just to try and chip away. And I'll finally get some damage. Going into Ahsoka. Oh, no, I did go into base. Yeah, that's right. I meant to go into base. Ahsoka should have some damage. I remember this. Yeah, we're just sorting that out. Ahsoka should have 2 damage counters on her, and then 4 should be on base. So finally, at this stage of the game, getting in some damage on base. He'll keep applying pressure in space. Puts me to 17. So I definitely have to start like full-blown stabilization now. Or at least, start making my comeback here. Big play incoming. He's tapped out most of his resources, if not all of them. Changes his mind. I'm definitely thinking we're in, Han Solo time. Now that Quinlan's gone, though, that ability is a little bit worse. And yes, we go ahead and pop a shield. Han Solo does come out. It's tapped out his entire board now, so I know I've got, I've got all my resources up. I still have a unit to swing in. This is a good situation for me to really start making some moves here. Go ahead and start with a blue leader ambush, and then we bring in Quinlan and swing in 2 to base. Ground board's looking real nice. Village protectors, keeping a battlefield marine and a Quinlan protected, as well as my leader. As soon as if we lose that village protectors and we've got to open Han Solo on the other side of the board, things are going to start getting really scary. So he's got first action here. Has to find some way to remove those village protectors, the pesky village protectors. And he'll go ahead and force throw me. I'll dump another ARC, and he can choose to do 2 damage to something. Doesn't take out anything besides my battlefield marine, or he can have it pop that village protector shield. Kind of a tough choice for him. Unless he feels like there's other ways he can deal with the village protectors with the other 4 resources. He's going to go ahead and remove my battlefield marine. And we bring in the Luke, which takes out Han. Big play. We're definitely right back in the driver's seat after that. Getting rid of a 7-drop Han Solo is a very, very important card. It's one of Quinlan's only, big units to pull out a lot of tempo with, which is one of my gripes with Quinlan, is that sometimes I just wish I had some bigger stuff. It feels like after you get all this mid-game stabilization, you're just stuck with a bunch of 3/5s, and it can be kind of hard to chip away at all that damage. Fang Fighter comes out, pops the shield from Village Protectors that was reapplied with Luke. Kanan's going to go in to base with the discard, and we get some restore in. He still has a couple of resources up here. I'm not sure if he's claimed initiative yet. He is going to play a Falcon. I'll swing Village Protectors in the base, knowing he's going to try and swing in or at least puts the pressure on him. With me swinging in for 2, he knows that if I claim, I get to reapply Shield to Village Protectors right away. So it's really, he doesn't get that full value of the Falcon coming out untapped, because he does not want to have to deal with that Village Protectors anymore. 18 damage on his base to my 15, and I've got my leader and these, I've got both Lukes on board to kind of help pull away here. Definitely feels like this phase is going to be make or break for either of us. Bringing in another Fang Fighter, which lets him cleanly take out the Village Protectors. And the Luke swings in for game. So Quinlan, which is a ping deck, I do feel like Quinlan, I'll talk a lot more about Quinlan when I actually do, an actual video on Quinlan for this meta. But, I feel like Quinlan has game into pretty much every archetype right now. And this particular matchup, just preparing for that mid-range board presence and being able to kind of chip away at it, shielding up those sentinels is just huge. And unfortunately for him, he didn't have any of the yellow answers that make that kind of punish all that shielded play. So ended up going 2-1 in this matchup. He took a game 1, and then I got 2 straight. Was able to stabilize a lot better. And after this round, moving on to a Han green. So as I mentioned, yes, we are now matching up against a Han green. I go ahead and get my Alliance Dispatchers down, and he ramps into a blue leader, turn 1 with no ambush. So this matchup, I do not feel great about. I mean, it's that the green hero, and he's running Data Vault, so he's got health advantage. He's got he's got resource advantage. We're, playing at least 30% of the same cards, and he just gets to play them a turn earlier. So this matchup, I feel particularly weak in. I'm able to get my Alliance Dispatchers down turn 1 and shield it, which does make me feel like I can kind of play this game with him a little bit, where we're playing ahead of curve. But yeah, it does not feel great off the jump. Go ahead and use the Dispatchers to bring in Bright Hope with no bounce. Just putting up that block there. No reason to give up a shielded Alliance Dispatchers. Taking a look at my hand, obviously there's not a whole lot that he's going to have to complain about. But he will say one card. I can't remember. I believe he wants to take away my ramp, but I can't 100% remember. We got some autofocus cheese going on right here. There we go. I actually don't remember what card he said, to be honest with you. So we go on to the next phase. He's got to remember to defeat a resource, obviously. I've got a lot of removal. I got a takedown and fell in my hand, and then I've got that resupply as we're going into resource 4. I'm going to swing in Bright Hope. He's going to swing in Kira. Use the Dispatcher to pay 1 for the Battlefield Marine. He's going to throw some damage into my Bright Hope. And then I'm going to resupply. So that's just another cool thing about Alliance Dispatchers. It just kind of changes the math there. Getting out a 3-3 and ramping on the same turn at this stage of the game feels pretty nice. Sundari Peacekeeper is going to be tough for me to deal with. Having, he's already got 3 health ahead of me, and now having a Restore 2 out there, doesn't feel great. Does not feel great whatsoever. With first action, he's going to go ahead and get rid of Bright Hope. I've got a Canaan, Village Protectors, and it looks like a Fell the Dragon in my hand. I chose to keep that in my hand besides a takedown, simply for the fact that with Han and green, like the chance that he's able to bring out something crazy, early, I want to have a response to that. If he, U-wings into a CAD or ramps really hard into a Luke unit, something like that. Or, U-wings into Luke, or all that jazz. Got 4 resources up, so I can either play the Canaan or I can shield up my Village Protectors. Peacekeeper is going to pop shield and restore. Trying to decide if I want to prioritize Village Protectors. And I decide to flip Luke instead. Village Protectors goes away. Swing Luke into the Peacekeeper feels like a pretty obvious choice for me, and we get to shield our Battlefield Marine. Han is deployed. throw down Quinlan. And while I do seemingly have a pretty strong ground board, things are going to get out of hand really quickly. He plays a Tantive in space, big Sentinel, and gets the X-Wing token. So now we've both gone pretty wide on our leader deploy turns. And we will go to phase. I will claim initiative now. Top deck a U-Wing, which could be the answer for sure. Definitely got some options here. I know I have that Fel that can take out that Tantive for me. That's going to be an issue. Just getting in that 5 free damage in space. And who knows what he's got cooked up now that Han's on the board. No Sentinels that he has to deal with. He's already ahead on base damage of me. These Han Green decks throw in some wild stuff, so God only knows what he's got cooked up right now. He's making sure that he pops his resources properly. And decisions. I'll swing Quinlan into Kira and have him discard. Get to restore 2. Bamboozling Luke just keeps me from throwing a shield out somewhere. And I've got a tough choice if I want to commit to that U-Wing and pull out something wild, or do I just deal with the Tantive? Decide to kind of push a little bit and go with U-Wing. You can see the top deck, you might have noticed that's a Yularen. That's how Ricardo's deck was built, with main deck Yularen. I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, I'm not interested in my version of this deck. And after this competition, I decided to not play that. So play the Obi-Wan and a second Alliance Dispatcher. Wasn't able to curve into a Luke or anything. He's going to get 5 damage into my base. And I'll start going into his base as well. Now, obviously, he's got 4 resources up, which is plenty of resources to play some sort of bounce or something to get around. Instead, he decides to Hotshot Blast and take out Obi-Wan. And now I will get to buff up my leader, which feels pretty good. I'm okay with that. And I get to draw a card. So now we go to phase. I've got the Luke in my hand, it looks like, which is nice. However, if he's not taking out any of my units, then, Luke's not going to get rid of the Tantive, which I think is kind of a bigger problem to me than his leader is, considering there's 4 damage into his leader. I can take it out right here. Instead, I decide to first action take out the Tantive, and he's going to swing into base. Might have been better for me to take out, I don't know, ambush with the blue leader. Falcon comes out. Got so much board going on. Swing Luke into base, it looks like. Or swing Quinlan into base, having him discard, so heal a little bit. Falcon comes in for 3. Have Battlefield Marine pop shield to take out leader. Not sure what I should have done there. If I first action, maybe could have prevented a play of some sort, but have Luke go into base and shield Quinlan. And I believe he's tapped out, so he's going to be claiming initiative here, and I'll pass into that. 23 damage on my base, but I've got a massive board. I've avoided most bounce and exhaust effects from a yellow deck. But because of Data Vault, I still have a long ways to go. Only have 16 damage on his base, so I am definitely still in stabilize mode. Trying to figure out what the best course of action is here. He gets first action, so Falcon comes in. And I'll go ahead and Luke in just to try and protect myself from any surprise strikes or hotshot blasters to finish off. He's replaying an L3 from Smuggle. And I'll start going into base again to try and come back and restore a little bit. Still at 25 base health here. I'm going to sacrifice one of my Alliance Dispatchers to pop shield, have the Battlefield Marine take him out. And then swing in all of my units on base, which is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And he has a surprise strike in. So crazy, able to stabilize. It felt like I was stabilizing so much, but it's just the yellow decks, man. I mean, look at this board state here, where after this L3 gets removed, like this is the board state that we're going into next phase with. And I mean, like both Luke's, Kanan, Battlefield Marine, Blue Leader, and like Yellow is just able to push across that much. And so I do feel like this Han, I went 1 and 2 against this Han to end the night. And this is just a bad matchup for this deck. I mean, like I said, 30 to 40% of the same cards, plus they get the benefits of yellows. So pretty hard to deal with. Han Green is not a deck that I'm particularly interested in playing, but I know it's getting a lot of traction right now. Might have to do a video of it and dabble in it just so that I know for sure it's not for me. But Luke feels pretty fun right now. I'm definitely going to stick with this a little bit longer, test it around, and who knows? Maybe that's going to be the one I am committed to. But we've got a lot more decks to cover. I've got Quinlan I want to show you guys. Sabine feels like might be back now that Django's gone. I've got a lot of stuff to get to that I want to share with you guys. So on that note, I'll see you for the next one.